Hello guys, welcome back to our video. Today, we'd like to first talk about some option of immigrating to the United States. I think it's the first time we're talking about immigrating to the US in our channel. So Tom, can you please tell us about the EB-3 program, what the program is?
Sure. EB-3 also stands for Employment-Based Program,
Okay.
and it aims permanent residency in the US.
Okay.
As known as a green card, and we here focus on other workers because
Okay.
EB3 has 3 different categories.
Okay.
So we focus on these other workers because most of the time it's what the market offers to us in quantity. So companies in the US, they can find locally employees, and they pass through a process. They prove they could not fulfill those positions, and then they are authorized for a certain period of time to hire foreigners.
Mhm.
So foreigners that are willing to immigrate to the US and also willing to work for the employer
Okay.
can apply.
Okay.
So would this be, if it was equal to a Canadian program, would that be similar to an LMIA at the start?
Yes, there is a couple differences, but yes, in this case, the employer, because LMIA usually we do with one specific candidate in mind.
Sure.
That is an open LMIA, but
Yeah.
would be more related to an open LMIA.
Okay.
So once they have this authorization, they can start to recruit and send applications also to get to be certified.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah, like you mentioned, EB-3 program has 3 different categories. First one is skilled workers, and the second, professionals, and the third is the other workers or unskilled workers. And although yes, Tom mentioned we focus on program for these other workers, but we also can help, nurses can come to the United States, but that would be under a different subcategory,
Yeah.
under the professionals.
Definitely.
So, what are the advantages of applying for the EB-3 program, Tom?
There is many advantages, but if you compare with Canada, for example, the requirements are very low in this sense. So as they are just unskilled workers, they don't need to show any training or a previous experience in that position. There is no language requirement, even though we also always recommend basic English for safety issues or purpose. And of course, they have to deal with employers on a daily basis, so
Yeah.
it's good for candidates to speak and communicate in English in the US. And they just have to be able to perform the job tasks, and they pretty much qualify. Also, age is not a big factor, so we have some room to move and adapt. So those are the main advantages.
So it sounds like this might be kind of a high volume, lots of job positions available, but in a low skill situation like in a factory or a production line or something like that.
Yes, there is many because the US is huge. So every region, state, city, they have economic problems they are trying to solve. So most of the time for this kind of jobs, so general helper, janitor, which they need in a big number, and they cannot find in the local market. So we understand that the economy in the US create this kind of, I wouldn't say problem, would be economic issue, because sometimes those positions are not fulfilled because of the salary. But to an employer to offer a bigger salary, it's going to impact on the product or service. Then once the price of the product, the service rise, they might lose market. So it's very delicate, the balance. So it is a kind of solution to find immigrants that are willing to work because they have another advantage, that is stay and the residency in the US, compared to local workers. They say, okay, they don't want to work in that position, and maybe they can find something else. So we here can see that it's both parts have advantage in this process.
Yeah, I mean, like one of the jobs that took advantage of this program was poultry processing worker. Like, it's a tough job, and Tom and I, we actually been to one of those processing plant. It's not a really fun experience, I would have to say. But joking aside, but it's a job that you cannot get paid a lot. And like Tom mentioned, in order to attract, obviously, U.S. workers, they need to offer higher salary. But then if they do that, then it's gonna impact on the price of the meat, and that will have an impact on U.S. consumers. So it's just the part where there is no like ideal solution, easy solution to fix this problem. So that I think U.S. is kind of leaving this door open, maybe on purpose, so that way, like, people from overseas can get their green card and fill this labor shortage in this kind of industry.
Right, and in that sense, as Tom mentioned, it could be mutually beneficial because the worker may be accepting lower wages than they would like, but the result is to become a permanent resident.
Yeah, not just that, because sometimes the worker don't feel ready to start in other more skilled position. So it is a tough job. We don't work with food processing anymore, but at the same time, even the other general helpers, the other kind of tasks, they don't have to talk to people all the time. They just can concentrate in one task and just execute that task. So it's easy for them also to build confidence after a while and say, okay, now I'm working, I'm learning, then they can try other positions. But it is a good start. It is a good start. So they land in the US and they already have a job, so they kind of have financial security, because they're gonna have income for sure, and that it's beneficial for them for sure.
Yeah. And some other thing that I would like to mention or add is, like, compared to express entry, it's a sort of old system, like how they accept immigrants. So there aren't really high requirements for this program. So as long as you qualify for what Tom mentioned before, you're good to go. And then it takes some time, but the advantage, or it could be disadvantage, is that you're gonna get a green card first before you come into the United States, and then you don't need to worry about like staying within one specific employer until they get their PR, or they have to invest time and money to become eligible for one of those Canadian programs. So you wait, and you wait for the approval of your green card application while you're staying in your country, working or studying, whatever activities you've been doing. And then once the green card is approved, or immigrant visa is approved, you come to the US. So it's sort of safe in that sense. But I would say the reason I said kind of disadvantage is there are certain type of people, or certain people that want to come to the United States like immediately, but you can't under this program. So you have to wait for the green card to be approved. Well, I mean, obviously, if you're willing to spend or invest some money, you can apply for F1, like student visa, while waiting for the EB-3 visa to be approved and come to the US to study. There are some other ways, but I think the only disadvantage that I found with this is, like, depending on your situation, you're going to have to wait for some time before you can come to the US.
Yeah, so compared to, of course, Canadian law in the US, that is old law, is from the early 90s.
Yeah.
there is no hard requirement, so there is no language requirement, there is no age requirement, for example. And it is an advantage, but also leave way open for immigration agents to decide. So there is a big subject factor. So one of the work that we do here, it's work with for candidates to prepare them for interview. That is crucial in those process. So to demonstrate they are prepared, to demonstrate they know what they are doing and they know what expect from employer from the US. So this is important for us too. So besides that, of course, we also keep in mind that there is other requirements related to health issues, because if the candidate has certain health issues, it's not going to be approved. And security issues as well, because it's the US, and we understand they have to make sure someone is arriving in the country, it's safe and it's okay. And also, and which happen with quite often, it's people that overstayed in the US as a tourist visa, or somehow was not with legal status for a while. In those cases, probably they wouldn't be able to apply as well. So we have to check everything before we decide if we're gonna start the process, because we know upfront that kind of problems we can have in the future.
And it might be a 1 year, 2 year process, so you have to sort of plan ahead to make sure that they'll make it to the final receipt of PR.
Sure. As any process, we don't control the time, so it's not up to us to decide. But of course, we manage to provide those informations before, get all the documents, then we can see. Also, for EB-3, we ask for a drug test. We have a list of drugs to be tested. It's for the employer, but it is also important. Then we can select the candidates and check if everything can go smoothly and move on. So before we start, we check everything first.
Yeah, just to add, just like Canadian immigration, so US immigration, they do also assess like applicants' inadmissibility. So like not complying with your status is one thing, or criminality, or security check, or like your health concern. All those would be assessed by US immigration. So it is our job to make sure applicants will be able to meet. And drug test is obviously going to be one of the requirements too. Yeah. So I think for today, we can probably wrap up this video. And in our next video, we can talk about steps of this application process and like details of our services or our work we do involved in here. And we can answer some of the frequently asked questions.
Yeah, next one's going to be interesting.
Next one will be the valuable one.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you guys, and see you in the next video.
Thank you. Hi guys, thank you very much for watching the video. If you have any questions, just send us an email in this address here and we're going to assist you.